All right, everybody. This is what we've been waiting for. I'm super excited to have you guys here on an amazing, I'll call Tuesdays transformational because great things happen on Tuesdays. So, what I need you to do first, I need you to go ahead and share this live, share with some of your friends, share with any leaders you know, someone who is like, I think I am a leader, whoever that is, share it with them. Share it with people who want to upgrade in their life, people who want to go to the next level. This conversation is going to be fire on today. So I want to take some time really quick just to introduce an amazing person that I actually met through the grapevine. Have you ever heard about people talk about somebody and you're like, who is this person they talking about? And you start researching and you find all this information and then you finally meet them. And not only do they blow your mind, but they're everything that people said and more. So that is this person, okay, that I have on today. And he's one of my mentors. His name is Simon Chan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So he calls himself the consistency coach because that is what he is. He's also a speaker who helps network marketers earn a part-time income of at least $1,000 a month by helping them create consistency, defeat overwhelm, and build a successful business online. Now, Simon is best known as the host of MLM Nation podcast. Make sure that you put a little mark on that and go check him out on that. It is the #1 network marketing podcast that features in-depth interviews with over 500 top income earners. Now, Simon started in network marketing in 2003. And he built $1 million business with over 200,000 distributors by pioneering online duplication. Now, he retired from building in 2013 to become a full-time trainer and founded an MLM Nation, which is where I actually found him. And so I'm excited today. And without further ado, here is my mentor, Simon Chan. Hey.
Hey, what's up? Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
It is such an honor to me. First of all, because I was in your mastery program. I was in the hot seat, but you in my hot seat today. No, I'm just messing with you. I want to give you a chance really quick. Just go ahead and greet the viewers.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hey, we're all born with unlimited potential. And hey, today could be your day. But all your dreams and goals are outside your comfort zone. And whatever you need to do something uncomfortable today and do that consistently, and you'll watch yourself grow.
I love it. I love it. And what I love about him is he's very straightforward and direct, and that's just so powerful, you guys. But you guys are in for a treat. So let's get right into this. So the first question that I have is, can you share with us what inspired you to become a consistency coach?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years, and personal development has been really it's instrumental. Like before I became an entrepreneur, I had no idea what personal development even meant. And then I realized that it's about learning, right? I thought that, you go to school and once you graduate, you finished learning and you maybe learn from experience, but that was it. Unless you went to get a graduate degree, get a master's, a PhD, something like that. Then I relearned there's a whole world of like self-improvement books, whether it's personal development, in your personal life, relationships, or in business. And I got started it because I want to be an entrepreneur, but I had no business skills, no sales skills, couldn't sell. So I started, I need to maybe buy a book or two about selling, because I couldn't sell anything. No one taught me how to sell. I thought you had to talk a lot, which is totally the opposite. You want to be a good salesperson, you got to listen. And so that got me into it. And like personal development has grown, grew me so much and helped me take my part-time business from home, make it into a full-time venture, 6 figures, venture made over 7 figures in that profession. But I've seen a lot of things change over the years, which was back then when I purchased a CD, and some of those old CD cases, this nice, it's kind of like a nice little, I bought it almost like sometimes for the jewel case, nice jewel case, like, wow, so cool. You have a nice cover, but it was $100, I remember. And I was like, oh man, I spent $100. I was like, but I did it because I knew I needed it. And I would listen to that thing like seriously, like 50 times when I driving, my kids driving everywhere, playing until I applied it. But I've seen the big transformation after YouTube got created was this. I think this is awesome. There's so much free content out there. So much free content. And the content that's free is actually often way better than the CDs that I had back then.
Sure.
but no one takes action on it, right? No one really. It's not how much you learn; it's what you
Mhm.
implement, and that you do it consistently over and over again. That helps you become successful. So number one, no one is teaching you anyone to be consistent. And I thought about what really helped me become successful wasn't that I'm smarter. I made a ton of mistakes. Um, Also, I wouldn't say I have a pretty good work ethic, but there are people who work harder. But was that I focused on one thing and doing it over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Like consistency creates mastery, right? Doing it
Right.
over and over again. And I realized no one was teaching that. But that was really the key to success. I didn't know much about online marketing. When I first started
Mhm.
online marketing back in '04, started doing learning on lead generation. I didn't even know what hosting was, a domain name. I didn't know and I still remember
Right.
explained to me. I think, what's a domain? The domain's like, why do you have to buy a hosting? What's it? It's like domain's like your phone number. Oh, hosting is like AT&T or Verizon, right? And I didn't know anything. I just did it every single day, and I got really good at it. Same thing as selling. I did every single day, got really good at it. So I believe consistency is really the number one skill. And some people feel like, well, I'm not born consistent. I'm not born this. I was definitely not
Right.
born consistent. And that's why when I first started, I struggled for many months. But
Mhm.
it's a skill that you can learn.
Definitely.
It's a skill you can learn. And if you learn it, you can master anything. I wasn't good at social media at the beginning. I got good at it by doing it over and over again. And that's, my purpose to have a positive impact. I think what's really missing is consistency.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. And I think one of the questions that kind of boggle us a little bit, as humans, we tend to do things over and over, but not often do we take account if what we're doing is yielding desired results. So for example, like I could do something 50 times and then the 51st time have a huge impact. Or maybe I could do it 50 times and the 51st time be a continuation of the same activity with little impact. So the question I have is there a way to identify whether the activity a person is doing is beneficial in their growth?
Yeah, I talk about this in the consistency system, the 7 components of the consistency system. And one of the components is tracking. You have to be tracking, right? Tracking activity. So whether you're doing sales calls, tracking, whether you're doing social media, you should be tracking. Well, how am I doing today versus I did? So, getting back to your question, whether it's 50 to 51 times, uh, track. So meaning if you're doing, let's talk about selling. If you're doing selling,
Right.
you may not get results to the 51 time, but are you closer to that result? Right. So meaning like maybe I'll give you an example. It took me 42 people to get my first sale. My first 10 people, I was so bad on the phone. I couldn't even get really past hello. I could never
Wow.
bring up the business. I was like starting to get nervous. I would just hang up. Like I couldn't even bring it up. But then the more I did, I realized, hey, I got them. I could ask people about it, but I still couldn't do like a presentation. And then when I got
Mhm.
to like 20 something, I got to do a presentation. I actually got close to closing someone on the 30th, but I couldn't close. I'll lose people. So there was tracking along the way, right? So if you're doing 51st, you may not get the result, but you're tracking.
Right.
So maybe, hey, I got closer. So maybe people hang up with me initially, but now I can get 7 minutes into a conversation before the conversation went bad. So you know how well you're doing.
Okay. I think that's good. And I'm not sure everyone is tracking.
And
I
that's
think,
the problem, right? If you look at any type of business, anything you do, you're tracking. If you want to be a good runner, right? How do I know you want to run a marathon? How do I know you're running well? Well, track your times. If you're not tracking your times, I'm just running. Well, you don't know, you're doing a 10-minute mile or 13-minute mile, 14-minute, 8-minute mile. Most people
yeah.
especially home-based business owners, they're just doing, but are you tracking? How's you? And then I used to record every one of my phone calls. I'll listen to them like, am I
Okay.
getting better at my conversation?
Mhm. I think that's good advice. And those of you who are out there listening, you're doing activity, but are you looking back at what you're doing? What he's saying, are you tracking?
Yeah.
So
And I think another thing you have to know that you can't overreact to this tracking, meaning like, you may be getting better. All of a sudden you went back, down. That's
right.
okay because nothing always goes up. Like if you talk about the real estate market, stock market, nothing always goes up. It goes down, it goes back up again. That's why consistency is important. If you do 50 phone calls, sales calls, you may not get enough data, sample size to
Right.
know, but you can see the overall trend, right? But if you
Right.
may have like one bad week, that doesn't mean you stop. That's why, like,
Okay.
I always talk about baseball. I do baseball with my son. I love that sport because it's about rejection and perseverance, right? So a hitter that hits really well, I know it's really a different time, like in COVID now, but in a
Right.
normal Major League Baseball season, starts like in March and ends in October. Some hitter that does really good in April doesn't mean anything, right? Because
Right.
what are they going to do after? And in order to win the batting title, you need a certain number at bats. I think you need like 500, 600, 500 at bats to qualify. Because they know
Mhm.
that anyone can do something short term, or things can be go bad short term. But that doesn't mean that, like Derek Jeter is like one of the, I think,
Yeah.
all-time greatest players ever, unanimous Hall of Famer, almost unanimous Hall of Famer. He has a historically terrible April and Mays, where he's like
Oh,
a
wow.
below average hitter. But the Yankees never panicked. The managers never panicked. Oh, he's terrible, because if you give him enough, if he's consistent, give him the at-bats in the games, by July, he's going to be rocking it, and he brings the average back up.
Definitely. I'll tell you guys this. One of the things that Simon taught me was this: if you're serious about what you say you're supposed to do, whether it's network marketing, maybe you're in ministry, maybe you're, I don't know, whatever that you're doing, whatever your business is, he says, if it's not in your schedule, then you're not serious. Because if it's there, you should show up to it. So this is the question that I have next. What should every emerging leader make part of their morning routine to be consistent in their lifestyle?
Getting back to the components of a consistency system, the first two is you have to have a checklist of things to do,
Okay.
right? So whether you want to sell a house, like selling a house, there's a checklist. Maybe you have to do open houses. Maybe you have to clean the house. Maybe you got to get the lock, whatever. Maybe you have to do listings. Maybe you have to get a list at MLS. If you're in network marketing, you got to go make your prospect list. In every activity, if you want to lose weight, there's a certain checklist of things you need to do. What is the checklist, exact specific activities you have, right? You got to be really clear on that. You see a lot of people a lot of times they have goals.
Right.
They don't really know exactly what they need to do. Oh, I want to lose weight I want to get healthy. I want to get really healthy next year and lose 30 pounds. But what specifically do you need to do? Do you have to change your diet? Do you have to do you have to buy a new fridge for new food? Do you have to shop at a different place? There's so many things out there. It's not easy. And that's why most people fail. So first is, what are the specific activities you need to do? That's number one. Then number two, more importantly, is you have to create that time. Now, and if you're an entrepreneur, it's really difficult because we have unlimited ambition, but limited and very limited time. So you're pretty busy already. You're packed, you're stacked with family stuff, with errands, your job, and now you all of a sudden you want to achieve something new. Where the heck are you going to get the time?
Definitely. So
you're not going to get 25 hours. So you got to create that time, right? You got to create. So you need to. The first step is give something up. It could be giving up TV, giving up some time with your kids, giving up sleep, which I don't recommend, giving up doing activities that don't generate income, right? You have to give that time up, create that time, and then set it into schedule and show up every day for that.
Definitely. So I think, and I'll speak for me personally and some other people I've been talking to, one of the things we've been trying to figure out is how do we master this consistency, with all the changes that have happened in the economy due to the limiting ability to connect with others, because people actually at this time are more busier than they were before everything happened, because now everybody's home, everybody's in the same room. So what could we do to help us with that consistency piece, with the limiting ability to how to connect to others now?
Well, you have to understand, doesn't matter when you are, no one's ever going to have enough time. Right now, if you talked, say, a year ago and said that, hey, if people all worked at home and you couldn't travel, wouldn't you have a lot more time? People, of course I would. I wouldn't spend time commuting. But that's right. That's what we have right now. Right? Most people, they're working from home, or even if they go to the office, they only go up a few times, days a week. They're not showing up like the way you used to. They're not traveling as much, but they still don't have time. So it really goes back to what I said. You have to create that time and set it aside and say no to a lot of different things and make it happen, right? And just say, so when I built my business, I was busy. It was 4:30 to 4:30 every day, show up and make that happen. I also do a pep talk. And that time when I have 15, 30 minutes, and I created and that eventually led more and more. I was able to do it during lunch hour. I was able to do more. Even recently, like I knew I needed to go do a live, but especially when you have kids, it's like you have a curveball every like 3 to 6 months, right? Like even without COVID, it's like my son has a new schedule now. They got to go this. Now they have a new daycare schedule. We'll go here now. Now they have a new. Now they're doing a tutor. Like on Wednesdays, my life is crazy now because now my son has an extra tutor. It's always changing. But so I was like, how do I want to go out and make a bigger impact. I do a daily pep talk 6 days a week. How do I create the time? So I figured out it was the only way to make it is 5:25 a.m. in the morning. I do it 6 days a week. I do a quick Facebook, Instagram live to motivate people, right? So I did have I'll share something with you. Just happened this week. I'm on the advisory board of the Fellowship of Christian Network Marketers. It's a huge honor getting to work with Chris Weiner, who was mentored by Jim Rohn and Ziegler. It was huge, right? So he invited me to be on the advisory board. And one of the things was, could you make a commitment? Could you share and do teaching? And I'm like, well, okay. I talk about business is one thing, but sharing about spiritual message, which, by the way, is my ultimate goal, to share my faith in front of 100,000 people.
Really?
That's my goal. Yeah, I want to speak in front of a stadium. I felt like God's blessed me. God's blessed me to be a speaker, but there's more important things in business. It's really share my faith about what Jesus Christ has done, what he is to front of 100,000 people.
Wow.
And now I'm going to go to ministry, but I want to be in that stage. And I felt like that was God's prayer. Here's a platform for you to do that. And I'm like, all of a sudden, no, I'm outside my comfort zone. I've never done a message before. And I'm like, well, when can I do it? And I looked at my calendar. There's no time. And I knew and Chris was like, you could do it once a month. I was like, I know if I do it once a month, it's like consistency creates mastery. I'm not going to get good at it. At minimum, I have to do at least once a week. The reason I'm good at the pep talks, the podcast, I do it every single day. So I made a commitment. It's like the only time I can do it was Sunday mornings. But Sunday mornings is the only time I don't do my pep talk. And what time on Sundays? I'll get up at 5:25. I'm doing it. So I did my first one. And I think I'm sharing that is because we are all busy, but we can make the time. You got to create the time and say no to something. And in order for me to make the time, I normally work on another project. I have to cut my time down on that project to be laser focused on doing that message on Sundays.
I love it. You always have the golden nuggets. So I'm going to ask you this, and this is a little, we're going to go back a little bit, but what happened in your life that you said, hey, I need to be consistent because I want to do this. What was that shift? Was there an event that happened or anything that happened and made you shift that mindset?
Well, I was never, and actually, you kind of sent me some questions to prepare me for this.
Yeah.
I thought about, I was definitely not born consistent. I always said that, I don't want to say it too loud because I have my kids in college. The only thing I was consistent with was cutting class and playing John Madden football to 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. I would never go to class in the morning. I'll cut all my classes. That was the only thing I was consistent with, right?
You're giving parents hope right now.
But I did have drive. I wanted to be a winner. Drive. Okay. So I thought about, I was a shy, quiet Asian kid, grew up in Brooklyn, New York. English is my third language. Eventually ended up went to an Ivy League school, went to Columbia. Not because I was smart. Right? I was always the worst kid in English for many, many, many years. I couldn't get he or she. My grandma was terrible. Was stressed out my parents. They actually had said doubts like maybe we should have taught him Chinese first, should have taught him English. And I was always math and everything else was good, but in English I was like the worst kid in the class. And then, but I always got into reading and learning about sports. I would read biographies of baseball players, biographies of basketball players like Magic Johnson. I learned about Babe Ruth and all that. And then I got into reading mystery novels. And I remember I was just one summer, my parents were really strict. It's like, you have to just read books. I'm not going to read these boring books. I just started picking up mystery novels like Agatha Christie. And my mom, my grandmother, I appreciate they just bought me a ton of books. I just read so many like J.R. Tolkien, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings. I read all those books. And I read Stephen King. I like horror. I read. And then all of a sudden, just by reading a lot, I remember going from 6th grade to 7th grade and then 8th grade. All of a sudden, I was at the top of the class in English. Just from that summer of reading all these mystery and horror novels and sports stuff. I read. And I was like, so then later on, And I got into a good school, not because I was smart, just by working.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it's just self-talk, right? So
Right.
I made it. I played college basketball. I made it as a walk-on to the JV team. They had like it
Okay.
was basically like a B team, and they needed. It was like kind of like a red shirt team, and they
Right.
needed extra players. So I made it as a walk-on. And how I made it as a walk-on was I was just like a basketball fanatic. I love sports. I only played 1 year in high school, but I would just practice my left. I broke my right hand. I just practiced my on my left hand, and I had a really good left hand. I could drive
Wow.
left, do a lot of stuff, and I just practiced. I never partied. I never go drinking. Never. I was just in the gym 3-4 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I was better. And I ended up being better than a lot of kids that played high school ball. And I made it to the team. So that told me like I could do it. And then later on, afterwards, and by the way, I never knew this when it happened. It's like when I start teaching consistency, I thought back. Then these pieces start coming together. And this is like a long answer to your question because
Yeah.
when I started working, you just sit at the desk at a corporate job. You get, you gain weight because you're going from playing basketball 7 days a week, 3-4 hours a day to like sitting there. Then I was like, well, I always wanted to run a marathon, right? I think no one can run a marathon. It's like, basketball shape and running is totally different. I could run for 1 mile. I can play basketball for 4 hours, but I can't run. But I started running like a mile a day and eventually became 2 miles a day. I would wake up 5:30 in the morning to run. And I had to go to run a marathon. I created the times. I'm going to decide to do this. And, 2.5 years later, I ran my first marathon in Hartford, in Connecticut.
Wow.
And I actually ran one in Philly that year, right? And I was like, so when I got started in business, again, business are totally, I know consistency. No one had to tell me what to do. I was struggling for months. And then I had a coach to help me. Hey, you need to be consistent. You need to do. And he made me do things I didn't want to do, push me, make calls. But I said to myself, I was really, really bad. But I said, if I could become pretty good in English by reading a lot of books, and I applied the same thing, I made it to I played basketball in college, just by working my left hand. And if I could never run a marathon, couldn't run, but ran it a little bit every day, eventually run a marathon. If I just make enough sales calls every single day, eventually I'll get my first sale. So it's the self-talk I can do, and I call it success stacking. Stack one success onto another. That's what happened. Even with the podcast, when I first started the podcast, it was awful. But I said, hey, if I could, learn how to sell, I could do one podcast, do a couple of podcasts, and eventually I'll get it.
Definitely. Well, you guys, I am so excited. Y'all don't understand. My heart is like out here because I really admire him. I really do. And I want you guys to get a chance to get up and close with him too. So go check out. I have his website below. It's mlmnation.com. Can you tell us what things that you have coming up? I know some of the things I participate in, but can you tell them what do you have going on now?
I have a group called Purpose Driven Networkers where I help people in the network marketing profession. But if you go to mlmnation.com, and also I'm working on a big project which I can't share, but it'll probably come out. It's going to come out next year, just to really help people stay consistent. But hey, follow me on Facebook, Instagram. If you tag me on story on Instagram, I'll repost you. My Instagram, Simon W. Chan, and that's on Facebook as well. So, yeah, and you know what? Whatever you do, you're all born with unlimited potential. Go out there, have a positive impact on someone's life. Use that potential, step outside your comfort zone, and go make it happen.
Definitely. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining Shoney Talks Lifestyle. Make sure you go to YouTube and subscribe. You can rewatch this episode and past episodes. And I loved having you on today, and have a wonderful Tuesday.